Welcome to Assembly Calendar. I'm Ted Flint. With us today, Assemblyman Pete Lopez, who serves the 127th Assembly District, which comprises 7 counties in Mid-Hudson, Northern Catskills, and Southern Tier.
Yes.
Pete, nice to have you. It's easier to say that than this list of 7
True,
counties.
that's true. That's true.
Your home base is Schoharie. We want to thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We are in the beginning of May, and we have 7 weeks to go before the end of session. It's hard to believe, but the governor has put 2 issues out there, which have been there all along, ethics reform and the tax cap. He wants these issues, he says, addressed. Or if not, he says that it shows a major disconnect between the legislature and
it's interesting.
New Yorkers.
It's interesting, and I have to say that our legislative leaders, per se, have really taken a back seat to the governor's agenda, and really, in many ways, have really not shown much initiative or leadership. They're just kind of laying back, letting the governor basically set the pace and the tone. And clearly, with the budget, clearly the governor had to do it because, in my house in particular, they were in no way, shape, or form interested in making the necessary changes that had to be made to stabilize. So as we move into ethics reform and the tax cap, both of those issues, very, very popular issues with many rank and file members, but also really coming from the districts themselves, people looking for a change. What has yet to be seen is whether the leadership will embrace the governor's agenda or if they'll just run down the clock to get through these 7 weeks and then adjourn.
Yeah, the ethics reform has kind of stalled a little bit in the Senate, I guess.
And it's funny because when it comes to those issues of disclosure, when it comes to, my bottom line is, what's the big deal? I have no, I lay out all my information in detail. I try to make it as visible. I'm an everyday person who works full time at this, 7 days a week, and I have no interest to be concerned about. But a lot of these people are. They're hiding, and we know that there's been some criticisms levied at Speaker Silver in particular, given his relationship with a law firm and questions surrounding how much is he taking and who do they represent. Mm-hmm. Well, clearly that's something the public should know, and they should know with any of the members. What are the relationships you have with businesses? Where are your investments? What are the things that could drive prevent you really from being as objective and community focused as you need to be. So to me, it's a simple equation. And if someone is not happy with that, don't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Seems simple enough.
Yeah. Don't engage. Don't participate. So a lot of resistance, and again, much of it coming from people who don't want their connections to be visible.
Yeah.
So,
the governor said this week also that part of his job, big part of his job, is to make the legislators realize their first priority, their first concerns are to the citizens of New York and not the special interests. And the failure to do that in the last few years has resulted in kind of a cynicism.
True.
New Yorkers are cynical of their government and thus the need for ethics reform.
And unfortunately, we have enough individuals surfacing in the press, in the media, enough to reinforce that public perception. There are a lot of good people. There are some wonderful people, very modest and hardworking, and it's a privilege for me to work with those sorts of individuals, come across them. But invariably, there's any number, and again, it's irrespective of party and irrespective of upstate, downstate, although there seems to be more of a concentration in the inner city, particularly New York City. There's enough of that surfacing to undermine public confidence, and that hurts everyone. That hurts the institution, that hurts society, because there's a sense that there are other agendas other than the true public agenda that are being served by these sorts of individuals.
What do you think the public is most, people in your district specifically, they're interested probably, I would guess, in pocketbook issues?
I have to say that's my sense. And again, the region I represent, very modest incomes, people who are working 2 jobs, in some cases 3 jobs, households fully engaged. I have to think, and these are the calls I'm getting, Pete, I've lost my job. So having a job is a critical issue. Pete, I've lost my house, so maintaining their home. Pete, I'm struggling to pay my bills. My car, my fuel prices keep rising. So my sense, job, home, ability to fuel their vehicle and maintain the family. And that's what's missing in the equation right now in Albany. And my focus is on job creation. My focus is on independence from foreign oil. How can we keep our energy affordable? Those are things that are missing right now in Albany, and that's a huge disconnect between what we're seeing in the district and what I see, like you say, pocketbook issues versus the issues that are being brought up on the floor of the Assembly, even as we speak.
Yeah, see, I know you'd like to see the legislature have the leadership in each house make those the priorities for them, but instead of it's whether it's gay marriage or whatever one house bill they're going to bring up.
Any number of issues that have come up, and again, my premise is let's take our limited time and resources, and I say that limited in terms of public policy, in terms of financial resources, in terms of attention on given issues, and let's address those issues that really matter, and making sure people are secure in their homes, making sure that they have a gainful employment, helping them be able to afford everyday costs, and giving them, so those as the basis. There was I recall from my studies years ago, they talked about this theory of human need, and the basic need, Maslow's need hierarchy, some aspect that dealt with human need and human condition. But it's going to zero in on what does it take to keep a household and a person whole: food, clothing, shelter, and then the needs go from there.
Basics, right?
Right, and that's where we need to be.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to. We have a couple of inserts for you. I mean, you were on the floor introducing a couple of West Point cadets. It was West Point Day.
West Point Day, and again, a very it's an honor to meet these young men and women. Again, we're at a time in history where much is being asked of our young people, particularly overseas, and so we had a chance to address the group.
All right, let's take a look at it. We're back with Assemblyman Pete Lopez.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I have the privilege of having two individuals, Stephen Roy of Schoharie and Derek Stanley of Saugerties, who are currently at the point. And these are individuals I have had the privilege of working with, and I know there are many others in my district who are being accepted or seeking acceptance to the Academy. And these are fine young men and women, clearly as represented here by the cadets with us today. And as we focus on this resolution in support of the Academy, I'd like to use this formal occasion just to offer some insights from the scouting movement, and specifically the Eagle Charge, which is very much focused on the same principles of building leadership and character in our society. And I'm hoping, and I trust that these insights will resonate with our future leaders before us and in the chamber today. We have too many who use their strength and intellect to exploit others for selfish gain. And so as we honor our cadets, we challenge them to dedicate their hearts and minds to the common good in defense of this country and what it stands for. And we challenge them to be protectors of the weak and helpless, aid and comfort to the unfortunate and the oppressed, and to be among those who uphold the rights of others while defending their own. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be voting in support of this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any follow-up, Pete?
Again, it's what I find is often we think about these institutions and the armed services and individuals in abstraction, but there are our neighbors. They're the children of our neighbors. They're our children. They're our young people, really, who are looking to make this country the place that we hope it will be and continue to be. So again, a very much an occasion to be celebrated, but also a somber, very serious sort of gathering. So these young people, many are graduating this year. The two that I mentioned, one gentleman, Stephen Roy from Schoharie, my hometown, just lives half a mile from me, is graduating this year. Derek Stanley from Saugerties is a junior. So these individuals will soon be leaving the institution and going into the greater world, where we hope that their training, we pray their training and leadership will make our world a better place.
All right. And the second piece of tape, we have you on the floor introducing some members from the Del Toro program?
Yeah.
Is it Angel Del Toro or what is it?
Angelo Del Toro.
Angelo,
sure,
okay.
Sure. And again, this particular focus, we had individuals job shadowing, And it was the Hispanic community, Mid-Hudson largely, engaged in understanding government and getting involved a little bit.
All right, well, let's look at that.
Sure.
We'll come back and we'll wrap things up with Assemblyman Pete Lopez.
Sounds good.
It's a pleasure to be introducing these young men and women on the heels of the Somos El Futuro event, which took place all weekend, where people from all walks of life, from all parts of the state, came to celebrate our shared Hispanic heritage and think about what was critical for the building of New York State collectively and strengthening the future for everyone in New York State. I have to say, as I have two individuals here from one from my district specifically, and an individual who represented me as in the mock assembly. So we have David Rosado, who's a junior at Hunter's Tannersville Middle High School, and Tanya Silva, who is a senior at Margaretville High School, also in Mr. Crouch's district. I know he has an introduction that goes with that as well. I do want to share, we had a chance to briefly discuss a few items in my office. We talked about bills, we talked about ideas, and one of the frustrations that I heard from our young people was the premise that just because the idea might come from someone younger in stature, that somehow the idea was not as important or the issue was not as important. And I think we all mutually agreed that the ideas, the things that people voice from their hearts and minds all deserve sound airing, all are part of building the state of New York, and I welcome their energy and their passion and welcome them as our future leaders. So, Mr. Speaker, if you could also offer them the privileges of the House. Thank you.
I think you heard the speeches, and you know that you have a tremendous amount of affection here. You left a tremendous impact on your presence here on this weekend and on the future that we expect from each and every one of you. So on behalf of Mr. Ramos, on behalf of Mr. Conti, on behalf of Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Thiel, Mr. Peter Lopez, Mr. Crouch, Mr. Molinaro, Mr. Joel Miller, Mr. Linares, Ms. Gunther, Ms. Arroyo, Ms. Calhoun, Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Cahill, Mr. Jose Rivera, Mr. Crespo, Mr. Ortiz, on behalf of the Speaker and all my colleagues, welcome to the floor. Enjoy the privileges of the floor. I'd say come back soon, but I know you will be coming back real soon, and I know you'll be here next year to enjoy further this conference. Thank you for being with us here today.
Okay, Pete, in our remaining minute, let's touch on job creation again. We talked about this briefly before. 100 jobs possibly in Springbrook.
Right, and again, what we have to do is be aware and be nimble. I guess that's the best way to describe it. We need to be nimble in terms of looking at opportunities and looking for ways to do things more efficiently. Springbrook is a special care, special needs facility in Milford, Otsego County, part of my region, and it is in the process of advancing 100 new jobs. We're outstationing, sending individuals to other states for services at excessive cost to the state. And so by bringing these jobs back, doing some modest investment in capital investment locally, we're going to be saving the state hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in tuition costs, in excess of what we'll be paying locally. I'll get that straight.
I'm having trouble.
Yeah, it's been one of those mornings. Yeah,
it's the first show.
But the good news is 100 new jobs, saving the state money, and keeping our young people closer to home. So doing the job advertising now, and hopefully getting some people who need a job and a career, getting them started in the region.
Yeah, that sounds like a good deal all the way around.
Good.
Pete Lopez, thank you
My
for joining
pleasure.
us on this edition of Assembly Calendar. We'll see you soon as well. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ted Flynn.